Sister A. Legree. You can find out more about us by logging on to our website at igbattmho.org. I wanted to share something with our followers, something that has just been on my heart just for the last several months, and is in reference to the justice system and the impact that it has on our mental health, right? I always look at things from a mental health system. And I was looking at this trial that's going on, and I was just, getting a feel for some of the things, how people were feeling, observing how I was feeling, and just taking the temperature. And I was, just looking, and I said, when you look at this, what am I feeling? What are people feeling? What are people who care? There's a lot of frustration, there's anger, there's helplessness, there's a sense of disillusion. What do you do when you've been told that the justice system is supposed to work this way, and then you don't see it working the way you were told that it's supposed to work, right? Or when you see the justice system working the way it's supposed to work for one person, but not for another, right? When you look at that, how does that make you feel? What do you think about? What do what feelings that come up? You know, I think a lot of times when a person goes to trial, we we don't care for the most part, right? Because in our minds, we're thinking they got what they deserve. He's a murderer, he's a rapist, he's, a child molester, he did something to animals. We don't care, throw the book at him. And I think, okay, that's fine on one hand, but on the other hand, I think we always want justice to be fair. I don't care who it is. If it's your worst enemy, if it's your if it's a rapist, a murderer, someone who, abused children or abused elderly people, that person still deserves a fair trial, just like everyone else, right? Um, and when it doesn't, when you don't see it, it kind of it can be unsettling. Then you have another group of people will say, well, they got what they deserve. But when you think about, there's so many people who are in our legal system who didn't do anything wrong, right? I think about Scotty Scheffler, and I may have the wrong pronouncing his name wrong, but he's in like the number two golfer in the United States who was falsely charged a few months ago, right? He was falsely arrested. He was booked, fingerprinted, the whole 9 yards, had to get a defense attorney, had to stand before a judge. And, the prosecutor, they just knew they had him dead to rights. And turned out he didn't do anything wrong. But a lot of people stood back and watched that because your first thought process is, well, he's a rich white man. Who cares? They always get over, good for them. And then you have it on the other end where people will look at a black person and say, oh, well, they're black. They always commit crimes and all that type of stuff. I think it's important for us. Yeah, we may have our emotions and our feelings that we have to think, some cognitive, we have to think critical thinking about some of this because any one of us could be in a situation that we never thought of. I always tell the story, not last couple of years. I was driving on base and I got pulled over, and it was something minor. I think I went down the wrong way or something. No big deal. I had my license and my registration out to give to the police officer. Nice interaction, no problem. So he comes back and he says, this car is shown as being stolen. I'm like, stolen, right? I'm like, wait a minute. Now, I had just purchased the car maybe about 8, 9 months earlier. It was a new car. I had my stuff in the glove compartment. So I'm like, no, no, no. Here's my name. I'm pulling stuff out. He went back and it was a mistake. They had got the numbers mixed up. No big deal. But I thought about that, right? Let's just say, suppose that the police officer didn't feel like rechecking the numbers. Suppose he said, no, we had a call about another fat little lady, look like you, sound like you fit the description. We're going to take you in. And then now I'm in the system for something I didn't do. So that's why we have to care. We have to care about justice being done. We have to can't wait until it's a loved one. We all have to care. But I said all that to say I wanted to share this letter from the Black Bar. Their web. Hopefully you can see it. It's the blackbar.com. Um, It is the black bar. It's from the law student. It's the BLVCK law student. I'm going to post it because I hope definitely that you can see it. And I want to read their letter because I think their letter speaks to just a lot of good points in this letter here. Again, it doesn't matter at this point whether it's guilt or innocent or whatever you feel. It's about justice, right? It's about making sure that everyone gets the same justice, right? The good thing about having cameras in the courtroom is we got a chance to see some good prosecutors, some good lawyers, some good judges, and we have an opportunity to see some not so good ones, right? We have an opportunity to see from the people who can afford good lawyers what justice is supposed to look like, right? And then we look at what happens when you don't have enough money to get, I want to say a good lawyer, but a good representation, because I'm sure they're just as good. But as far as getting a public defender, what that looks like. So I think it's so important. But I wanted to read this letter. I'm looking for a way if I can make it bigger. Hopefully that you can see it. But this is a letter that's written from a law student, and he's writing this to a judge, the judge that's over this particular case. And it says, I write to you not just as an observer, but as a concerned citizen, a law student, and a member of the community that has been closely following the Young Thug YSL case. The frustration that has accumulated within me, echoed by countless others on platforms like Twitter, has reached a boiling point. The trial, which has been labeled the longest in U.S. history, feels, and let me go here because I don't have my glasses. That the trial, which has been labeled the longest in U.S. history, feels less like a beacon of justice and more like a labyrinth of legal confusion and procedural missteps. The defense has moved for a mistrial 30 times, each motion a cry for fairness, a plea for the court to recognize the procedural injustices occurring in plain sight. These aren't just legal maneuvers, they are indicators of a system straining under its own weight, where the scales of justice seem increasingly unbalanced. Jury instructions. The jury has been given 11 limiting instructions before even receiving the final jury instructions. This isn't just complex, it's confounding. How can a jury, composed of laypersons, be expected to navigate through this legal maze? Each instruction adds another layer of doubt, not just about the case, but about the system itself. This trial, with its endless delays and procedural missteps, represents not just a legal cost, but a moral one. The community watches not just for the verdict, but for a sign that justice can be served fairly, swiftly, and effectively. Instead, what we see is a drain on resources, time, and faith. At the end of trials like these, we should see a safer community, not a more disillusioned one. And I want to come back to that point in a minute. And the person who's writing this says, as a Black law student, watching this unfold has been more than disheartening. It's been a lesson in the systemic failures that disproportionately affect Black men. The rights of these defendants, their presumption of innocence, and their right to a fair trial seem to be afterthoughts in this spectacle. This case isn't just about Young Thug or YSL, it's about every Black man who looks at this trial and sees a reflection of their own potential fate in a justice system that often feels rigged against them. Here I must quote the great Frederick Douglass: where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, and where any one class is made to feel that society is an organized conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade them, neither persons nor property will be safe. That's a good point there. I want to come back to that. This trial, in its current state, feels like an organized conspiracy, not against one man, but against the very principles of justice. A plea for change. Judge Whitaker, I implore you, consider the weight of history you carry in your decisions. this case has the potential to either restore some faith in the justice system or further erode it. The community, the observers, and especially those directly involved deserve better. They deserve a trial where justice isn't just a word, but a reality. In closing, let us remember the words of Martin Luther King Jr. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Let this trial not be remembered as a threat to justice, but as a moment where justice was truly served. Sincerely, the Black Bar, and they have their website there. And again, I wanted to read it. It'll be on our website, so you can click to theirs. So I think it's so important. A couple of things that this pointed out is that when we look at systems, again, let's just say they're guilty, right? Again, I don't think you can say whether they're innocent or guilty until you hear all the evidence. And at this point, I believe the prosecution still has like 99 more witnesses to bring forward. So, in all fairness, we have to keep an open mind to whether they're guilty or not. But let's just say they are guilty. At this point, just because they're guilty, they shouldn't be treated a certain way. Everyone, it doesn't matter whether they're guilty. Let's say we're going to say they're guilty. They should be treated fairly. And what is fairly? In accordance with the law, right? If these were rich, non-Black defendants, some people would argue this trial would have been over given all the problems that have been happening with this trial. You had one judge that was removed. Now you got the second judge. I think she's done a good job trying to catch up on everything and trying to correct the mistakes from the first judge. And I think that's commendable on her part. But at some point, if this was Alec Baldwin, the case would have been over by now. But again, let's talk about disillusionment. Disillusionment. When a person is disillusioned with the system, what does that mean? That means they're taking a look at, they've discovered that, and I wanted to read it from the dictionary, a feeling of disappointment resulting from the discovery that something is not as good as one believed it to be. When we wonder why certain populations, they commit crimes, they kill each other, or they're shooting each other up in the street, they have no regards for life. This is what happens when you are disillusioned. This is what happens when you see a system that works for everyone else, but does not work for you, right? Why do I care? Why should I care about you when you don't care about me? When you see a system that is not fair, again, if you're a criminal, you should go to jail. You should be punished under the law. But we would expect that the people who are the police officers, the judges, the prosecutors, to not be criminals as well. We expect them not to come down on the level of the criminal in order to catch them, right? There was a saying that said, a person who catches monsters have to be careful that they don't become one. And I'm not saying that this is what's happening with the judge here, but I'm just saying in general, when we look at a system like that, many of us who've been watching this trial, I haven't been watching it I'm not a day one. Some of these people are day one. Some people are day twos. I'm like day three. I've been started watching several months ago, and it's like one thing after another. But the thing is, it's just like, it's about being fair. When people are looking at a system that is not fair, right? Then you can't wonder why people are not following directions, why they keep getting into trouble, why they keep shooting each other, why they keep committing crimes, because you have a system that is unjust. You have a system. There's a scripture in the Bible that says, when there are no restraints. Where is it? I had it written down, and I wanted to share it, because I wanted to share a biblical verse. Just let you see how everything is so related. Everything is related. When we look at these kids stealing, when we look at these kids, robbing or doing things that they shouldn't be doing, we have to look at the community in which they live. We have to look at the environment in which they live. We have to look at the systems that they interface with, right? So you have a system that, And you may have one or two people in the system say trying to do the right thing, but if the system is overwhelmingly flawed and is overwhelmingly against certain people, people are going to be cynical. People are not going to believe that it works for them. People are going to be disillusioned. People are going to throw off restraints, right? Where there is no laws, where there's no system that's consistent, that's put in place, people just throw off restraints, meaning they don't care, right? One of the things that not one of the things I enjoy the whole letter, but he talks about here. He said, at the end of trials like these, we should see a safer community, not a more disillusioned one, right? When we've had quote unquote, let's say criminals among us, family members and friends, they've been telling us like things for years like this. They have been telling us that the prosecution and the judge are like this. They've been telling us that. They've been telling us that when you go into court as criminal, it's the prosecutor, it's the judge, and the police are all on one side, and then you have the defendant on the other side. How unfair does that look? Even three on one side, one on the other. That doesn't even look fair, right? But you have the three most powerful entities: the judge, the prosecutor, and the police against the one person. Now it's fine. We say, "Oh, who cares? They're a criminal." But suppose it's you and you were falsely accused. Suppose it was your mother, your brother, your sister, and they were falsely accused. Let's say you did some of what they're accusing you of doing, but not all. See how that works? Is not fair. But again, our criminal loved ones have been telling us this, right? For years, they've been telling me this. They've been telling me, about how the prosecution, they will throw you in jail if they want you to testify. And in this particular case, there was one guy, they not only did they put him in jail on Friday because he refused to testify. Again, he didn't take a plea deal. They put him in jail on Friday, put the guy in jail. Allegedly, he didn't get a chance to eat. He was deprived of water. And instead of bringing him back to court on Monday in open court, they've had a system where they set up where they brought him in front of the judge, surrounded by 14 other people. They did it in secret without without the other side, the defense attorneys being there. This is the type of justice. These are the types of things that happen in our legal system. Again, I understand you're trying to get a criminal off the street. You're trying to get criminals off the street. But he who strives for the mastery should be temperate in all things, meaning you have to do it the right way, the fair way. It shouldn't be in secret, right? It shouldn't be hidden. The legal system should work. It should work for the black guy just like it works for the white guy. It should work for the straight guy just like it works for the gay guy. The fat guy just like the skinny person. The legal system is supposed to work. Just like in Alec Baldwin case, the legal system worked the right way. That's how it's supposed to work everywhere. Not just for him because he had a good lawyer, right? So the system should work. But I wanted to share this letter because this is really how a lot of people who are feeling. One of the things it goes on to say, oh gosh, where is this? He talked about, oh yeah, right, where justice is denied, where poverty is enforced, where ignorance prevails, and where any one class is made to feel that society is an organized conspiracy to oppress, rob, and degrade them, neither persons nor property will be safe. Neither persons nor property will be safe. You know why it won't be safe? Because who cares, right? You don't care about me. The mindset is you don't care about me. I'm not going to care about you, right? I don't care. You have stuff. I'm going to take what you have. I want what you have. I'm going to cover what you have. I'm going to rob, steal. I'm going to beat you up because why should I care about you? You don't care about me. This system is not fair, right? It's fair to you, but it's not fair to me. So if I'm if facing a system that I know is not fair to me, why should I help the police? If I have a system that I know is not fair, even though I know who did it, the crime, I'm not going to tell the police. Why should I? Why should I help them? They're not doing anything for me. The judge is not doing anything for me. The judge, the prosecutor, the police, they're all together. Why should I care? They don't care about me. So what happens is we have certain parts of our society, certain neighborhoods where people form these little groups, these little cliques, these little gangs, or whatever you want to call it. And it's like us against the world, so to speak. because they're the only people who understand kind of what's going on. They feel that's in their world. Again, I wanted to share this letter because um, shout out to the Black Law Student Association. I think this is great because it speaks to, clearly articulates what so many of us have been feeling who are not as articulate as they are, right? You can't have, if justice, one more thing here I want to close out. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice elsewhere. You can't just say, if it's a nice defendant, we're going to be just to the nice defendant and unjust to the defendant we don't like, right? No, it's an unjust system. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Let me make sure I get it right. Injustice, I with an N, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Okay? You can't have justice sometime and justice sometime and in other times injustice. What you have is an unjust system. So again, I wanted to share this letter. Hopefully, it speaks, it gets out. More people will start having a conversation about it, and whatever that needs to be done, that can be done about this case. Hopefully, as a result of law students writing this, that we'll have more seasoned attorneys, some seasoned judges, kind of like, okay, lend their voices to what can be done, what the people can do. If anything, the people can, people can do anything. Number one, at this point, I'm like, what can we do so this doesn't happen again? That's where we are. So this doesn't happen again, because unfortunately, this is going to have to play out. We're in a, I think it looks like it's going to have to play out, good, bad, indifferent. We just have to continue to watch this injustice, which seems to be a prosecutor and judges, relationship so close that you can't even, we don't know what's going on, whether it's justice, not getting justice, we don't know. But I think at this point, what we're seeing is something that's not fair. That's not what we're seeing. It's something that's not fair. And again, it doesn't matter whether they're guilty or not guilty. This is a matter, this is about justice. But this is what happens. This is what I wanted to lead to share. When you're watching this has a negative impact on everyone's mental health. You're looking at disillusionment, anxiety. Some people get depressed. Some people get really cynical. Like, who cares? You start feeling hopeless. You start feeling worthless. What's the use, right? What's the use when you see something like this? What's the word? What's the use, right? If you're still going to get treated like this, it doesn't matter, right? We have plenty of Black African American lawyers, judges, police officers, who are doing the right thing. But what's the use? You have plenty of judges, prosecutors, police officers who are not Black, but all colors, races, sizes, who are doing the right thing. But when you see something like this, for some people, it's like, what's the use? So when we wonder why crime is the way it is, when we wonder why people are doing the things that they're doing, just remember the unjust judges, the unfair prosecutors, the politicians, crooked politicians, the police officers who are not doing the right thing, who we cover for, right? The judges, the police officers, the judges, prosecutors, police officers, that we cover for, and that we just let them do what they do because they're dealing with criminals. And who cares about criminals anyway, right? We don't care about criminals. We don't care what judges do. We don't care what prosecutors do. We don't care what the police do until it impacts us or until it's something that really blows up. But I'm telling you, we need to care, because you never know when you or your loved one will have to face a prosecutor who is unjust, a police officer who's unjust, a judge who's unjust or unfair. We have to kind of come together and start asking questions of what can we do to make the system better for everyone? What can we do to make our justice system better than it is? Again, it's getting better all the time. Mental health outreach, providing information and support while encouraging hope and faith. You can log on to the Black Bar Voices. I'm trying to get to their website, but anyway, it's going to be on our link. and you'll get a chance to see it. Yeah, I was just trying to close out. It's VBLVCK law .com. Again, I'll have a link up. God bless you and have a great day.